Welcome everyone to our first session of the Leaving Home Summit on Homelessness. My name is Nykole Sakihara-Soper, and I am the Deputy Director for the Coalition of Homeless Services Providers. I have a little bit of background. I started at the Coalition, jumped over to Bay Area Community Services, and did some direct services, went to the state with Cal ICH to work on statewide policy, and I'm back home where I belong, right here at the Coalition, and I'm excited to be back. So today we are going to be talking about local solutions and lasting impacts and what our local governments here are doing to help make an impact on homelessness. And we'll start off by introducing our panel, and I'll let these folks introduce themselves.
Good morning and welcome. My name is Enrique Arreola. I am Deputy Director of San Benito County Health and Human Services Agency. And under my capacity, I oversee the Division of Community Services and Workforce Development, which is an integrated division that includes our Community Action Partnership, our Community Action Board, and also a Workforce Development Board. And under Community Action is where we have our homeless and housing unit that we'll talk about a little bit here today. So I've been with the county 17 years now.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Nykole. I'm the city manager for the city of Soledad, and a special shout out to Beatrice Trujillo and Kimberly Guerrero, who are also here from Soledad. I have been the city manager for almost 2 years, and prior to that, I worked almost 8 years as a community and economic development director for the city of Salinas. People who know me know that I'm extraordinarily passionate about housing and addressing homelessness. I think we all need to step up to the plate if we're really going to make a difference. I've been working in community development for the largest city in the state, the city of Los Angeles, and then through Salinas, and then now small Soledad with about 20,000 residents. So I'm really proud of the work that we're doing, and I'm anxious to share it with you. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Roxanne. I'm the County Homeless Services Director. I've been with the county since, we're going on 3 years, in a brand new unit called 3 years is kind of new for county. It's Homelessness Strategies and Initiatives, and we are located in the County Administrative Office. Before I came to work for the county, I used to run a nonprofit called the Coalition of Homeless Services Providers. You may have heard of them today. And through that work, when I was at the Coalition, I was able to do really incredible things with some really incredible organizations, and actually had the pleasure and stressful pleasure of leading all of us through the pandemic. So it was a time and space in which we all came together in ways that I never really thought we could. We had an infusion of resources. We had a whole lot of people who were very concerned about folks who were unsheltered, people who were sheltered, and how being sheltered was going to be very complicated for individuals, especially during the pandemic. So I'm also very excited to talk to you all about some work that we've been doing at the county level, and also in partnership with some of the other folks on the stage. Thank you.
Awesome. So just to give you just a little rundown of the format, I have, we'll lead off with a question, but we will also be taking questions from you all. So if you did not already have them prepared, you have a little bit of time to prepare one. So if you had anything you wanted to ask them just about rural homelessness especially, please feel free, and we'll have a mic going around so you all can ask your questions. But we will kick it off right now with our first, which is, what innovative policies or programs has your local government implemented to reduce homelessness, and what results have you seen so far? And we'll kick it off with Enrique.
Thank you, Nykole. San Benito County is a small county. I want to say it's about 13, 15 or so percent the size of Monterey County. And our division is very small. We're only comprised of 20 employees, and under Community Action Partnership, there's probably half of that. So we're pretty small, yet we're, I think, very efficient and implementing innovative solutions. We have a hard job ahead of it's a hard job, difficult job. I'm sure you work with our community, you have a lot of passion, and to get to our overall goal to reduce homelessness and being innovative is nothing easy because it does require tons of effort, coordination, funding, and such. But one of the things that I wanted to highlight is, as a county, I think one of the advantages of being small, and that could happen really even in bigger counties, but one of the advantages is that we coordinate services, coordination of services that are under one roof. And what I mean by that, recently we did consolidate all of the county's programs under Health and Human Service Agency under one roof. So I'm not sure if there's any representation under social service that perhaps be managing the Home Safe program. Anyone? Bringing Families Home program, Housing Disability Advocacy program, Housing Support program. So those 4 programs we've never managed before until this fiscal year. So what that's done, at least for us, in coordinating the services and having a greater impact on our clients, it allowed us to, one is break resources. So if they grant, we're mostly grant funded, I want to say that. We're mostly grant funded. So if a grant expires or ends or we run out of money, it's a lot easier to have internal discussions to ensure that we continue to serve our clients. And second, when you do case conferencing and you have a client that also is a client of another program, instead of working in silos, I think it just makes a lot of sense so I wanted to really highlight that because it's worked for us, and in bigger jurisdictions, a little bit more challenging, I think, but nevertheless, it's not impossible. We're on the same table, we're all communicating, we're on the same page. So that helps a lot. So the other thing I wanted to mention is leveraging existing available land property that, to help expand housing. And for example, we operate the Migrant Center in San Benito County. So within the center, we're providing housing for other types of populations, like migrant seasonal farm workers. We have a total capacity of about 500 in this facility with the labor camp and the migrant center for families who travel here during the migrant season. But also, there's other available land in this facility that what we've done is expanded housing for homeless individuals. So we're building right now 16 units, so 16 may not seem like a lot, but I can tell you it's a small win. It's a win that will certainly help our homeless, unhoused families. So 16 is big for us. And we also have on the same property 15 transitional housing units for a 2-year period through a contractor in San Benito County. And the same property, there's another area that we have 16 RV units that are used for emergency. When we had the floods and families were displaced, all of the units were used for a period of about 7 months. And right now we're kicking off next Monday, as a matter of fact, the RV pilot transitional housing program that is being coordinated in conjunction with the encampments, relocation of encampments, to increase our capacity and transition individuals into beds. So if this works, we will expand. That is one of the goals, and utilize all the units. So that's another that's been working for us. But also, it's just the active communication among partners. And you might say, wow, how's that innovative and stuff like that. But I think, again, going back to the smaller jurisdiction, every time we talk about policy development and bringing solutions, it's been kind of integrated as part of our process to coordinate with behavioral health, community homeless solutions, our social services department, the sheriff's office, City Hall Police Department when you do outreach. So it's kind of engraved in that process. As an example, when we, the Board of Supervisors, discussed and we have the need to clean up the encampments down the river. Now, we have to be at the table because we have a role, and our role is with street outreach and getting our outreach involved, and we have at the table every person that has a role. So I think, for that, I think it's really good for us to really nurture our relationships and really work collaboratively together. So those are 3 things that I wanted to highlight. And then also just really celebrate small wins. Even though you might house one family, but it's one family that didn't have a house. And one family that needs the help, the support, the supportive services, coordination of services. So let's celebrate small wins, and sometimes we're just too darn busy that we don't do that well enough. So we gotta improve that. And to celebrate the small win, there's a small 1.5-minute video for you to see one of our programs that we recognize during Social Worker Month. But this highlight one of the programs with our Helping Hands Help program through the COC Coalition. So.
While they're figuring that out, we will go over to Megan.
Yeah, so I think the most important thing that rural communities can do is to shift their mindset about folks who don't have housing, what that is. These are our neighbors. These are, in many cases, family members, friends who have fallen in bad times, whether it's through substance abuse, coming into having criminal issues or whatever those issues are. I think it's important that rural communities shift their mindsets because we are so small. We have the ability to involve everyone into addressing homelessness, whether it's having your police department being more sensitive and understanding and knowing the names of the individuals and treating folks like individuals, or working with public works who can provide some support for addressing some of the sanitation issues. I think that is so important. There are so many people, speaking from being in Soledad, there are so many residents in Soledad who want to help the folks that are experiencing homelessness. So getting all of these players involved and seeing that it's not your problem, it's everyone's problem. We all have to be at the table. And I think that's the switch that I can see if we can really make people embrace the problem and try to be part of the solution. It will help so much because funding is limited. And if we're just trying to, government can't do it alone. If we're just trying to do it alone, we're going to fail. We need to get churches involved, whether I know some churches are thinking about developing their properties and adding, ADUs. We have a church in Soledad that's interested in doing that. And we really have to seriously talk about those small solutions. One thing that I'm proud to say that Roxanne is a great partner. We have an encampment that is it's kind of split between our jurisdictions along the Salinas River in our town, where there roughly was, at the time that we applied, about 44 people living in that encampment. And we're working, and I wish I could say we know the outcomes, but I'm confident that we can get the folks housed, but we're working on kind of a path to housing. We are going to be setting up in the next 30 days a very provisional encampment. We will have showers and restrooms and service providers. We are working with Step Up to do that. And we will be setting up a provisional encampment for 16 folks. We are working with a MEG, which does these modular units. They have worked sort of deploying in military senses, and they're starting to work on setting up these small villages for unhoused folks. So we're going to be moving forward with that. We should be developed with that by July. So we will be able to actually, between the hotel that we have folks living in and this 16-unit village, we'll be able to actually remove the encampment and put people within safe housing. It's really critical too to have trusted outreach. So we have partnered with Step Up, but we also hired our first homeless services coordinator Kimberly Herrera. She's doing an excellent job. We're so pleased, and she's been really great, helpful in coordinating all of the efforts, and also making sure that the city, you know, again, that we're embracing and helping, whether it's addressing public works, helping with sanitation, whether it's the police department understanding how to work with individuals, and also reaching out to nearby businesses. So what I would say is there's a lot of innovative things you can do, and it's really important to bring along the community and get them involved, because we all have a stake in it, and we can all do little things to help out. Whether it's an individual in the community that helps someone get a job, even if it's just a part-time job to start getting money in their pockets, whether it's an organization that might help with wraparound services, maybe some street centers to support substance support, or a government, you know, taking on more responsibility, even though, you know, a lot of cities will say homelessness is a county issue. We can't have that mindset. These are our neighbors, these are our family members, these are our friends. We have to look at it from that perspective, and I think if we do, big things can happen.
Speaking of big things, so the county of Monterey County is vastly rural, and the jurisdiction that belongs to the county of Monterey is almost 100% rural. So I felt like it was important for us to have hold this space right now, because in that context, the county does have quite a bit of responsibility, because we have the jurisdiction with so much land. And there are 3 large encampments that were impacting rural parts of our county. One of them was in King City. The other one was right up, well, it's in King City, but it's actually in our jurisdiction. And the other one was, as Megan had described, sprawling over both Monterey County and Soledad jurisdiction and Caltrans. And then the third one is along the Pajaro levee. So while I detest the idea that it is only the county's responsibility to address homelessness, I do understand that the county has a lot of infrastructure. The county does have a lot of things that smaller jurisdictions do not have. But what we are not good at, I'm sorry to my boss who's in here, we're not really that great at doing that human component. What Megan didn't do was talk about how imperative her police department was in the success that we are starting to experience in resolving the Soledad encampment. They did not penalize people for being homeless. They helped us understand more what was going on in the encampment. They built relationships with the people who were in the encampment. All of that is so very important, especially in rural parts of this community. Because the county has such huge infrastructure, and we do, I have a half of a floor full of lawyers that help make sure that we are doing things correctly, for better or for worse. And we also have very, very, very smart analysts who are able to quickly go through grants and identify funding. We have the infrastructure to manage that funding. So we had partnered with King City, Soledad, and the County of Santa Cruz to address those 3 large encampments. And in those cases, the County of Monterey led the pursuit in receiving funding to address those encampments. In Soledad, we received over $4 million, and in King City, we received over $6 million, and for Pajaro River, we received nearly $8 million. We are doing this in partnership with these other jurisdictions, because, as said before, we cannot do it alone. There are strengths in all of us that we need to bring to the table. And for Pajaro, this is such a, well, actually for all of these encampments, these have been around for a really long time. So we're talking about, in some cases, folks who have lived out there for a decade. And those relationships to get folks to really understand that we have identified a pathway for you, and we are asking that you trust us. That comes from boots on the ground. So I want to recognize all of those folks that go out there every single day and establish those relationships, because I know it's not easy. I know sometimes you think you have a housing placement and it doesn't quite work out, and I know how damaging that is to your relationship with that individual that you're serving. So King City, I'm going to talk about King City because they're not on the stage with us today. King City had put their neck out there. They went for a home key. Raise your hand if you know what a home key is. Raise your hand if you don't know what a home key is. So during the pandemic, there was this big initiative to put people inside of hotels that were highly acute, like their health had a high acuity. So we put people who are experiencing unsheltered homelessness into motels, and it was thousands of people across the state, and the governor was like, uh-oh, what are we gonna do when room key closes? So then the state released another surge of funding called the Home Key. That gave local jurisdictions and housing authorities the ability to purchase hotels and convert them into housing. In Monterey County, there were 4 home keys, and we had all relied on one developer, and that developer went belly up. And 250 permanent supportive housing units were at risk, all of them. Every single one of those home keys had foreclosed. So King City, a tiny baby city, who said, I think we should do this, and put their neck out there, their political careers, all of their careers out there, and they were in a horrible position because the state now is holding these jurisdictions accountable. So King City called and said, SOS, help. We really need the county. And the Board of Supervisors said, go, help. And we did. So I'm very excited to say that even though there's a ton of litigation, I'm not going to get into it, you could Google it. It is all over the news. But because of partnerships between the County of Monterey, King City, the Housing Authority, and Central California Alliance on Health, King City is pulling themselves out of the litigation and is going to their city council next week, and those units are going back on track. And we are going to do this one home key at a time, bringing back into our community. So this is what we are talking about. That is not necessarily a policy, but it is an initiative, because theoretically, that's not our jurisdiction. We don't have to do it, but we should. Well, you don't have to do a lot of things, but you should always ask yourself, should I? There's another thing that I'm going to mention, because I know we're all taking way long answering this question. But I'm incredibly proud of the Board of Supervisors who recently adopted the encampment resolution policy, which was written in partnership with the Sheriff's Office, Environmental Health Bureau, Department of Social Services, Health Department, Behavioral Health, all of the departments got together, wrote this policy, aligned it to the 7 principles for addressing encampments. And we have embedded into our policies best practices when it comes down to serving people who are unsheltered. And I think that that is a big, bold statement from the Board of Supervisors. So I look forward to continuing talking about this, and I know you want this mic back.
Thank you all for your very thoughtful answers, and I do hope you all can hear exactly how amazing the work that each of these people in each of their jurisdictions and the counties are doing, because they have come together in ways, since I've been at the coalition, in ways that really never existed before, and they're really doing it. They're pushing back when they need to push back, and they are really fighting for people's rights and to treat people like homelessness like people who are experiencing homelessness.
Roxanne, you mentioned the different levels of funding.
Yeah.
Can you say the sources of those funding? The last one was King City at $8 million, and can you just say what the sources of those funding?
All of the funding streams that I had mentioned, it was actually one. It's called Encampment Resolution Grant. And it is very specific to humanely resolving encampments. It's very people first, it's housing first required. And you really have to have a comprehensive approach. It's not saying, here's $8 million, go clean that encampment right now. It is, here's $8 million, and you better serve those folks and get them on a path to housing. This is not clear the encampment and hope they don't come back. This is clear the encampment and make sure that they are stably housed. So there's a difference, and I'm so proud of the state because they put another round of ERF in this year's budget.
Welcome to San Benito County Community Services and Workforce Development, a division of Health and Human Services Agency. We are dedicated to providing our community with essential services.
Our dedicated outreach team goes out into the community and meets with unhoused community members, and we provide finding kits and connect them to resources. We believe everyone deserves a chance to thrive.
So here at the Home Resource Center, we offer housing navigation, we offer case management, we do offer one bed. We are a 24/7 shelter as of November 1st, 2024.
My name is Diana Mendez, and Health Community Services help me with suitable, stable housing and a chance to be a part of my community.
The ultimate goal is to get them out of homelessness into resources, including short-term housing and long-term stable solutions.
I have never had anything but positive contact with the Health and Human Services Department of San Benito County. Every single person I've known has been kind and respectful and compassionate. And it's really something to see. Those people have been amazing. I can't say enough about them. I would not be here breathing and talking if it wasn't for them.
Together, we can build a more resilient community in San Benito County. For more information, give us a call or visit us at our website. Remember, we are here to help you every step of the way.
Beautiful, beautiful video. And a lot of that takes a lot of strategy, right? And it had to deal with people coming together. So our next question is, what strategies have been most effective in improving service coordination across your local agencies and partners?
All right, so a couple of things I wanted to highlight. So I already briefly talked about this, and I'm not going to get too much into it, just the creation of the Homeless and Housing Division, so kind of spoke to that a little while ago. Second, I did want to mention that for almost 10 years, we've held bi-monthly, every couple of months, meetings with key stakeholders in our community. For the initial years, we were called the Local Homeless Service Providers Meetings. Then we transitioned maybe about 2.5 years ago into the Homeless Task Force. So I think for us, this is one that really allows us to coordinate our local service providers, increase our service delivery, and really tackle issues affecting the unhoused and developing strategies and seeking funding and recommendations. So that's been working really, really good for us. I also want to say that for the last, with the support of different funding sources, including here with the coalition, having an active outreach team, street outreach team that goes out 3 times a week into the river, into parks, and other settings. And we've also implemented we call the homeless message line. So if anyone from the public has any concerns relating to homelessness, they can call, they'll leave a message. Our team will respond and return the call if needed, if they request that. But our goal is to help those that are needed here, so that's work for us. But as far as the coordination of services, just really quick highlighting our office area and how we structure it. So we structure in a way that we have to collaborate and partner to better assist our unhoused families and individuals. So we built the shelter. It's a 50-bed shelter, and we opened in December 2017. So we developed a strategy that within the same facility, we're going to have 3 levels of phases. So phase 1, we fund developed about $3.5 million in grants. We built the shelter, and we operated it since then. Community Homeless Solutions is our provider. And then we received another grant of $1.4 million to create our offices to develop services, to provide services. That's where we hold our Helping Hands program, permanent supportive housing, transitional, the staff that operate that transitional housing program, and all the social workers and our staff and that provide services to the shelter and other homeless individuals there in the same facility. But we also added a third element here, is right behind the shelter in the same building a transitional housing program that consists of only 6 units because the space wasn't that much, so we got another grant of $1.45 million. And we built it, so it's there's 6 individuals living there. They have their own unit, their own restroom, their own privacy, but they do share the laundry room, the community living area with the living room and kitchen. So I think that concept in working with our partners to deliver the services that are needed, I think it's pretty good. But the last thing real quick is really integrating our lived experience community. They are part of the community. They do hold a voice. We have to engage them. We have to seek their feedback. We have to go to their setting to do the HMS assessments, go to their setting, go, as you do outreach. So I wanted to mention that because it's important to hear from them and learn from them, and they're who we are serving, and it doesn't make sense if we don't include them.
So a perspective that I have working in local government is in order to move these innovative initiatives forward, you really need the support, whether it's the Board of Supervisors, your city council, your mayor. These things aren't really possible unless you can bring them on, through and get their support. Before I mentioned that I worked for the city of Salinas and was involved with the development of the Share Center. And I think it was, at the time, true that this Board of Supervisors and the City Council had a little bit of a tension between them. And I think it took Luis Alejo, and it took, Mayor Gunter, I did forget him, but Judge Phillips, Supervisor Phillips, I'm sorry. They came together and they actually helped mend the fence between the city of Salinas and the County Board of Supervisors to work together on developing the Sheriff Center. And so it really takes that brave leadership, the change in attitudes to really move that forward. And I think for us in the city of Soledad, it's really been critical to have a very supportive mayor, Mayor Ana Velasquez, who sits on the leadership council, and the council itself, who have taken these brave steps, because there's a lot of people that are telling government, they do, a lot of voices do want to criminalize homelessness. They don't want it in their backyard. There's a lot of folks that are doing that, and if you can't bring your elected leadership along to have that courage that we heard during the plenary session, you're not going to get anywhere. So that to me is a key partnership, and that's really helping, that's really going out and having your political leaders understand individual stories. When they can see that, again, like I said, that these are their neighbors, their family, when they can see that, the vision of what needs to be done shifts. And of course, because of the change of our council in the city of Soledad, I was able to work with the county, which was a key partner, working with the county, looking at all the health systems that could also support that. Reaching out proactively to new partners. I'm very pleased that Step Up is working in Monterey County. They've been a tremendous leader in some of this area, and work with some of your folks that have been doing it for years. Whether it's Dorothy's or Interim, we have a great group that we need to reach out and work with. But I would say that the key is really getting the political buy-in. And once you have that, then other things can follow. And then I don't want to diminish, if you're working in a jurisdiction, whether it's the county or city, getting your departments on board and making them, it's not just community development's job, it's everybody's job. Everyone has a role to play in working through, because everyone comes with different resources, whether it's your recreation department, your public works department, you need to really reach out and make sure that they understand the vision and they're part of the solution.
sometimes I just don't know how to follow up. I think for me, one of the biggest undertakings of my career since I've gotten to the county was working across the departments. County is huge, is or is one of certainly the largest employers of Monterey County. And these departments are gigantic. The health department, I think, has over 1,000 employees. Department of Social Services nearing that, I think around 800 or something like that. Huge. And we are not small enough to put everything under one roof. So it has been quite the exercise of one, understanding how each department moves, what programs they have, how have they rolled them out, what partners do they have, and then shifting. I remember when I used to work in the nonprofit sector, I used to always say, I wish the county would just. And since I've gotten to the county, I still keep that in my head, and I use that to move to really push me to move the way I do move within the county. So one of the things that we do is we host something. You heard there's an organization here called Cal ICH. That before Cal ICH, there was another national organization, which unfortunately DOJ just shut down. It's called USICH. And the model is that you bring all of these agencies or departments together and you start working across these silos. So we have MCICH, which meets whenever I don't cancel it because I'm so busy. It's generally every other month, and it is amazing what we find out when we pull everyone together. It is amazing to know that this one department is working on one piece of the puzzle, this other department's working on the other piece, and oh my gosh, would you look at that, they fit each other. So that has been a big, huge thing, and I'm glad that I now have a team of people. It is a smaller team than Enrique. I have 3 people working for me, but because even in that expansion, it's a 400% expansion since I started, and we're able to really wrangle the departments, figure out how we can do this better. We are going to be launching a very, very huge strategic planning exercise that is going to be countywide, big C, right, proper noun county wide, looking at every single one of our departments and figuring out how we are addressing homelessness. And then the very last stage is going to be looking at how should the county be helping the rest of you. So be on the lookout. It's going to take a lot of time and a lot of manpower to get through all of that analysis, but I'm excited because I think that we can do a lot more if we do it together. Thanks.
Thank you all. That's incredible to hear because we as workers in this field, we all know that the silos exist, and it's good to hear that there are people who are willing to put themselves on the line to break those down.
Hi, my name is Paige Hubert, and I'm the foster youth and homeless coordinator for part of my job for South Monterey County Community High School. Roxanne, shout out to you. I work with you a lot. And the question I have is, has anybody thought about like partnering with like Heart Now? They have that tiny construction home park at their Alisaw campus. And I like the idea of like churches adding ADUs onto their campuses, so to speak. So my mind's kind of racing about because I'm working mainly in Greenfield now, and what can we do? What can we do? Because we have so many families that are living doubled up, and there's like 20 people in one home, and astronomical amount of rent. And we just had a family come, and they were renting a living room and a bedroom, and they were behind their rent. And we couldn't help support them because there was not a formal lease. So there's that kind of issues, like how can we help a family that is doing the best they can, they get behind because they're off season, but the rental assistance programs that we have, you have to be on, they only work with like the landlord. They don't have a landlord, but the person that's actually leasing from the landlord. So how can we meet that? And has somebody thought about like looking at Hartnell as like maybe to solicit them for their newly construction workers to create little ADUs for communities?
So we actually have a satellite campus in Soledad. Our interest with Hartnell is maybe on the education piece. But I will say that we have worked with Chispa, for example, to build ADUs on some of their properties, and that's, yes, we are looking at like what we can do. The city, because we want to be a leader in affordable housing, right? This is the issue of homelessness. We took all of our little money, which wasn't very much, and we bought a 4.62 acre site right in the middle of the city of Soledad. So we are going to be putting that out for RFP for any affordable housing developers in the audience. We're anxious to meet you because we're right, aligned. We want to have affordable housing projects. We're also looking at other things that we can do to do more infill, smaller type of projects. We were hoping to buy a fourplex in a new development for a transitional age youth, but we weren't able to move quickly enough. But we're going to be looking too at what kind of properties can we buy? What can we do to do affordable housing? We're looking at master leasing. We have a brand new apartment complex that was privately developed. I think it probably was for H2A housing, although there's a process for that. And I think they're trying to sell it, and we're trying to find out how much is it? Who can partner with us to buy 24 units in our town? So I think just thinking outside of the box, and like San Benito, I think they have thought outside of the box too about providing smaller units. So all of those things we are looking at.
So I remember when I was going to my interview for the county, and I had to really be clear that I am an expert in homelessness. I am not an expert in housing. But the interesting thing about homelessness is you kind of have to be an expert in everything in some capacity. So although I do not develop, we have a whole housing and community development team. There are some projects that the county administrative office are working on. The type of money that my office has pursued has been really fast. That money that I was talking about, we have 3 years. 3 years to do whatever you're going to do with it, or else you relinquish the rest back to the state. So bricks and mortar is not necessarily the easiest thing for us to do, starting from the bottom. So the project that I was talking about, where both of the counties entered into agreement, Monterey and Santa Cruz County, we had worked with the church, and we will be putting modular units onto that project. Because that project is to serve people from the Park Road levee, it really is, they're not large enough for families. Most of the people that are on the levee are unaccompanied adults or couples. But I think your main point is that traditional housing doesn't have to be the only answer, and we do recognize that. So I think that the county is, especially with these encampment resolution grants, are looking at fast ways, whatever fast is, fast ways for us to get safe places for people to relocate to. So the project that Megan is talking about, that's also using modular units. The project in King City is a conversion of a hotel. So there's going to be different ways and shapes because every community is different. If we were to do something with Marina, it's going to look different. If we did something with Seaside, it'll look different because every community has its own personality, its own desires. So we're going to figure out what's right for that particular community. At this time, it's all encampment resolution grants for my office, but it doesn't mean that's forever. So we are continuously advocating to the state for more money, for more innovative solutions, for them to change policies. You can't always use something that would be temporary housing for permanent housing. There's different codes that govern these things. But the advocacy is real, the fight is real, and like I said, we are definitely exploring different means to develop safe places.
Yes, I work for the Sheriff's Office, and this is an amazing job, and I'm sitting here listening with an open mind. But I'm boots on the ground, and bringing all those police positions to those encampments you talked about, I was intimately in those, and we still deal with them daily because everybody, it's a jurisdictional issue. They don't want to have in the city, it's Monterey County. You guys handle it. And it's back and forth. And how do you get, what I'm saying is I feel groups going out to actually see it, see what's going on inside the encampment. We all know it's, to me, everybody we deal with is mental health. 90% of the people we deal with is mental health, drugs, and they know about the system, they choose not to go. You talked about making it criminal. It's a case by case for me because we go to the levee in Buffalo and it's filled with stolen property. And we get nonstop calls for service by all the big ag people right there along there, and that they're constantly being broken into, stealing all their stuff, everything out of there. I just would basically, my guys on the ground we feel like we're spinning our wheels because there's nobody going out there to talk to them. And the one time we go out there to talk to them is to calls for service, assaults, whatever's going on. And like you stated, it's mainly single adult males. There's no families. I see what the lady over here, she talked about multiple housing. That's all over the county. And that's what I hear that's pertaining to all these things that you guys are talking about. But the tents all over the place, 90% are the mental health, and we need to get mental health out there. I know we have crisis going on, which is fantastic, but we need to get this organization, all these people here, it sounds fantastic, but they need to go out. They need to talk. And let these homeless encampments see people. And I don't know, we don't know what to do. Because, and then the other thing is, the last thing, there's never any follow through at all. We kick them out, and they go to wherever you guys are going to put them in their housing, but somebody takes your place. And it's a vicious circle for us.
So the encampment resolution grants are a little bit different than just doing a cleanup. If you know me, you know I'm pretty anti-cleanup unless you have an actual solution for people to go to, because it is a crazy cycle of just moving people out, watching them come back, moving them out, watching them come back. So encampment resolution grants really are my bread and butter. So we have seen in King City successfully, after all of those folks were removed after the fire, the Sheriff's Office partnered with the Department of Emergency Management and with King City PD, who is now under Sheriff Boyd, and they entered into an agreement. So King City PD and the Sheriff's Department work together to make sure that encampment never comes back. It's been successfully closed for 2 years. When was the King City fire? 2 or 3 years ago? It was a long time ago. It was during COVID. Right. So we're also working in Soledad, and we are actually finding alternative places for people to go. It is not a matter of, again, just doing the cleanup, watching people come back. We're moving people. All of them have signed up. All of them want to go into these modular units, and all of them will go. And some of them went to hotels. People who are medically fragile ended up in hotels. And now I have invited Jason Smith to work with Soledad PD to do the same thing that we did in King City, because there does need to be follow-up. The interesting thing about the Salinas River, though, is it's not always, it's like the encampment itself, there's going to be a lot of people who have been there for a long time, but it's also a transient pathway to Salinas and Watsonville, where there are a lot of people go for the season. So oftentimes you'll find people who this is just their stop. They're on their way to the ag fields. So there is this extra additional complexity of people who are literally migrant farm workers working their way up until they find a field for them to work on, and then eventually they will go back down to Arizona. So there's just this, homelessness is I think more complex in Monterey County because of that extra layer of we have a lot of folks who are working in our ag fields. But the follow-up is important, and I think that there is a balance. I think it is unjust for you to have a law that says that you can't be homeless, we're gonna arrest you, as they mentioned earlier, and you don't have the capacity in your community. And in many communities that are passing these laws in the state of California, it's zero. You have 0 shelter beds, 0 affordable housing. And then how do you expect someone to make to find their way out of homelessness. Homelessness, especially in the state of California, is not a strap up your bootstrap situation. Aside from the mental illness and substance use disorder, which we will not pretend does not exist, because it does exist, there is a component, as there is a component of mental illness and substance use disorders inside of homes. Just because you have substance use disorder and mental illness, it does not necessarily mean that you are homeless. Just because you're housed, it doesn't mean that you don't have substance use disorder or mental illness. But for some reason, there is this comparison between the two, like it's interlinked. And really the data shows that most people fall into homelessness, they develop substance use disorder, they develop mental illness after experiencing so much trauma. So I want to just acknowledge that there is that, but there's also the other thing as well, because being housed or homeless doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be better or worse than anyone else. In Soledad, Sonia De La Rosa made one text message. She would like for behavioral health to start helping with outreach in the encampment. And very quickly, behavioral health said okay. So we recognize that in Soledad, some of the folks that are left inside of the encampment, because we have been slowly moving people out to other locations, we are now at, how many people's left? 16. Remember the number that was said earlier? There's only 16 people left in that encampment. It was 40. 44 when we started. Okay? So we can do this. We can do this, and we can do it with humanity, dignity, and respect. We can do it without penalizing people for being impoverished. I still have so much respect for the work that you guys do, and I appreciate that we do work together. Thank you.
I think it's really important to work with law enforcement, because I think what you're describing is there's kind of a balance, right? There's a lot of people, I'm a city manager, so I oversee police, and there's a lot of people that are mad. We have a lot of stores around us, there's been a lot of theft, and those folks are community members too, and they're just trying to hang on, and they're losing their livelihood. So I think it's important to take a kind of a human-centered approach where you recognize the human and all of that, what that means, but you also don't necessarily say you're not responsible. And so our police department, sometimes they have arrested folks because they have committed crimes. I will tell you, they most of the time are right back because the jail won't take them or the DA doesn't want to prosecute. So if you're not really thinking about a solution and you're just trying to enforce it, most of the time it doesn't stick, even so. But the next day, the police department is there talking to them, hey, Joe, you're back. And so I think it's just understanding that you have to have a human-centered approach and help guide them towards the resources. And I'm a big proponent of housing first. I think if you have mental health issues, it is 10 times harder to get help if you're unhoused. I mean, think about, I moved to Salinas for a short time, and we had to move between hotels, and it was so discombobulating. And I had a place to lay my head at night. I can't imagine having to do that with mental health issues and no place to be. And then the fear that many people have of something happening to them. So I think we just also have to be very have a housing first approach and give people some safety net so that they can address some of their issues with substance abuse and mental health.
I'll answer that in 1 minute. In San Benito County, just really quick, we understand that you mentioned about 90%, yes, a high number of individuals need mental health services. So when we go out to the encampments at the river, we take behavioral health. So they are part of our outreach team, including deputy sheriffs. So yesterday we had one of the outreach, and we had 8 individuals in total. I think 3 from behavioral health, 2 deputy sheriffs, and also the rest of my team. And they split the work, so they walk the entire areas of the river that have a number of encampments. And and they provided that level of support, information, hygiene kits. So if we know that there's a need on a particular service, let's get those parties involved. That's what we've done. They seem to work, but also understanding that when these individuals are removed, reality is going to be like, do we have a capacity to transition them into a shelter, into a hotel, into other forms of housing? And we know that we do have a critical housing issue everywhere, and that is a big solve, and it doesn't happen overnight. But having the vision, I think, will help. So what we've done recently is create an additional 19 beds at the shelter, so when they're moved, we have 19 additional spaces. So we're trying to come together for solutions, and I just wanted to recapture that.
My name is Donna. I work for the Silver Star Resource Center, Monterey County Probation, and my office is right behind the Sheriff's Center. We have a very large group of clients that have severe mental health and dual diagnosis issues with substance use. What is your view, or is there any talks on dual diagnosis residential treatment that is so needed here, both separately for adults and for youth? And are there any current funding streams that are available to make that happen? Or how can we make that happen?
That comes, yes, there's a lot of that money that is coming down the pipeline. You may have heard of Prop 1 or Behavioral Health, BHSA, Behavioral Health Services Act. The state of California has really, the voters of the state of California has voted in favor of huge change to the way mental health services and substance use disorder services are done in the state of California. We're starting to see that roll out slowly but surely. By this time next year, behavioral health will have to provide a plan which has to be approved by the state of California. The health department is working on doing a very large residential program. Right now, I think that they're quite a few $1 million short, but it doesn't matter. Elsa Jimenez is an incredible leader, and she is pushing hard for her to get that built. There will be a huge infusion of funding that's coming down for those individuals who really need that level of services. Also, just in case you guys did not know, behavioral health just opened up Hope Housing, which is in Marina, and it is also for substance use disorder and people with mental illness. It takes both families and unaccompanied adults, and I believe that there's about 90–95% full. So it was the former Pueblo Del Mar in which the county had intercepted that program after it had shut down. So congratulations to Behavioral Health for that service.
Awesome. So in wrap up, I think all I have is a call to action to all you folks as well, right? We have some jurisdictions and counties sitting up here, but not everybody is currently a part of our solution. So please advocate to your city councils, advocate to your county leaders, your city leaders, to please be a part of our solution because we need you. At the end of the day, that's the truth, is we need every single one of our jurisdictions in Monterey and San Benito counties to come sit with us at the table, because we are flexible, as you can see, but we will stand for the humanity of people experiencing homelessness. And we just invite everyone to come. Please be a part of the Coalition of Homeless Services Providers. Come to the Leadership Council meetings and just hear what's going on. Because we've got great leaders doing great things, and we can continue the path moving forward. Next up is a lunch. So everybody, please enjoy yourselves. Lunch is out in the main lobby. And thank you again to our panelists.